How's it going, everybody? It is Ethan, or Unknown Coder, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Build Twitter. We're currently on episode 41, and today we start working on the register form 3. We go through and we actually make a brand new input field. That way we can navigate back to the original or the first register form to refill out some information, to change some information. We also go ahead and get that form all set up and ready to go. That way next episode we can go ahead and actually style it up and move forward with that. So let's go ahead and hop into VS Code and let's get this done. We have the entire step 2 all done and ready to go. Now it's time to move on to step 3 and start inching closer and closer to the end goal of finally being able to register. Then we'll do some back end work once again. So coming back into our front end here in VS Code, what we're going to want to go into is go ahead and create a new component. That way whenever we click on it, it actually takes us back to that first page, because inside of Twitter, whenever you go back and click on something on step 3, it doesn't let you edit it on step 3, it takes you back to step 1. So what we're going to go ahead and do is open up here, and inside of our validated inputs, we're going to make a new file. We're going to call this validated display. So this is essentially just going to display some data for us. And whenever we click on it, it's going to move us over. So now back in here, we're going to do all of our stuff, all of our imports. So we're going to go ahead and import React. We're going to also have use state. This is of course going to come from React. We're going to have dispatch from our React Redux. We're going to have app dispatch from our store. Whoops. We're going to have our update register from our slice. So import update register from our slice. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and import our styled components. So import styled input box. And we're also going to input styled input label. So this is going to look just like our inputs, except instead of actually letting you type in them, it's going to take you away. Finally, I'm also going to go ahead and import the CSS, the validated input.css, because it's going to share that same CSS. Go ahead and say export const, and this will be a validated input, or validated display rather. And this is going to be react.fc. This is going to take in a interface we have to create. So validated display props, which we'll create in a second. Can't type props equal to, and then we'll have our label and value that it's holding, and then go ahead and do this, and we're going to just return a div very quickly here just to get this done. And let's go ahead and create the interface. So this is just going to be a private interface validated display. I spelled display wrong, display props, and this is literally just going to have a label, which is a string. So what is the actual input holding, and then value, which is also a string, so it's going to be the actual value inside. But now we need to do a little bit of setup. So we're going to go ahead and use our state inside here. So const, we need focused, and set focused. So this is going to be whether or not we have clicked on it. It's going to use state, Boolean, and it's going to start out as false. We're also going to grab our dispatch, const dispatch of type app dispatch. This is going to equal use dispatch from React Redux. This is a method. All right, so there we go. So let's go ahead and start working on the return. So we're going to have a class name. And this is just going to use that same CSS we already have. So it's going to be a validated input. Technically, it's not a validated input, but it's fine. We're going to have our styled input box with active going to be false, hard code to false. That's fine. And valid is always going to be true. Remember, this stuff's already going to be filled out. This is the next, or the slide before actually submitting the data to be signed up. So we've already filled all this data out, and it should be essentially ready to go. That's the user decides that they want to make a change. So now we'll have our styled input label, and here our color is going to say either if it's focused, it'll be blue, otherwise it'll be gray. And then finally, our active is going to equal to focused. All right. And then we'll also have a valid, which is always going to be true. And then finally, we'll have our label in here. This is a little bit awkward, but it'll work. Label is going to come from the props. Now we need the input as well. This is also going to come inside of, no, it's going to be outside of style input label. We have our input, and this is essentially just going to be a placeholder. So class name is going to equal to validated dash input dash value. And inside of this input, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to self-close it actually. And we're going to have a couple properties. So on focus is going to have a method. For now, I'm just going to do this. We'll write the method in a second. And we're also going to have a value that kind of gets pre-put in there called value. There we go. So value is also going to be passed in. Let's go ahead and work on this on focus method. All it's going to do is go ahead and change us back to step number 1. We're going to say const focus. I was going to call it on focus, but we can just call it focus. And this is just going to be an arrow function that takes no parameters. We're going to go ahead and set focused to not focused. Whoops. Like so. I mean, it'll at least light up for a second. It's not going to be lit up forever because we're going to go ahead and say dispatch. And we're going to dispatch an update register. And this is going to take in the name. So we want to update the step value. And we are going to give it the value of step value 1. Whenever we actually click on one of these values, or whenever we focus on one of these input fields, it's going to change the value of step to 1 and take us back to that original step. Technically, the actual Twitter will also highlight or focus on that specific value. I don't quite know how to do that, and maybe I'll look into it later, but I'm not that concerned about that functionality. So now we can go ahead and create our register form step 3. So to do so, I'm going to close out of this for the time being, and I was going to make a new folder. It's out of my components for register. I'll just call this register form 3, and in here I'll go ahead and make a new file. I'm going to go ahead and call this register form 3.tsx. I'm sure I'll need CSS later, but I'll deal with that when I get to that. We'll go ahead and import React from React. Maybe. We also need that validated display, so go ahead and import validated display from, this is going to be from dot slash all the way out to components slash validated input slash validated display. All right, so this is going to be very simple. Export const register form 3. This is going to be react.fc. That takes in no props, so very simple. And then we'll go ahead and return a div just to be safe. So our class name is going to equal to reg dash step dash 3 dash container. Whoops. Container, like so. And then we're going to have another div inside the class name equal to reg dash step dash 3 dash content. And then inside of here, we're going to have 3 validated displays. So we're going to have a validated display, the label equal to name. And we're just going to have essentially the first name and last name. So value equal to first, last. This is going to be updated later. We'll actually import the name, but this is going to be for now. And we'll have validated display, label equal to email, and then value equal to, for the time being, email at mail.com. And then finally, I want to spell validated, one more validated display for the date or birth date. Birth date, and I think this is lowercase. And then again, we're gonna have to do a little bit of code to parse it like this, but that's completely fine. This is what it's gonna look like, and voila. So this is all it is. Very, very simple. Now we need to go ahead and add this into a register form or into the util. So this is gonna be inside of the register step util. And now, actually just kidding, it's gonna be inside the register modal util. And you need to go ahead and import register form 3, if I could type. And then go ahead and throw in register form 3 in here. Like so, and save, and we can close out of that. That's as simple as it is. Now if we come in here, a little bit of CSS is broken. So for some reason, I'll have to take a look at what's going on with the CSS, but we'll go ahead and try to fix that in a little bit as well. So if we go ahead and continue, and there's also a bit of an issue, next. Okay, so this should also be filling out the information here. So I'll have to take a look at why the information is not getting filled in properly. But again, I'm not too worried about it yet. We'll fix it in a little bit. So now let's go ahead and actually fill in this data with the global state. So go ahead and grab our use selector, import use selector from React Redux. And we'll go ahead and grab the root state as well. Root state from our Redux store, and now we can go ahead and grab that root state. So go ahead and say const state is equal to use selector, and inside here we'll say state colon root state, root state, and we'll say state.register. And now instead of having first name last name, we're gonna do some backticks. We're gonna say $, and then we'll say state.firstname. And then we'll have a space here, and we'll do another $, state.lastname. So we should try to display the first name and last name. Here, we're just gonna say state.email. And then we need to do a little bit of a function to deal with this. So the first thing we're gonna do is go into our date utils inside of here, and we're going to make a stringify date function. We're going to say export const, and we're going to call the stringify date, and this is going to take in a date of birth object, and it's going to return a string. All right, let's make sure date of birth is imported, and then string. I don't know what this one's problem is. Oh, it's because we're not returning a value. That's fine. So we're going to go ahead and return a string. We're going to start out with a template literal. We're going to say months, and then we're going to say date dot month dot substring 0,3. So the first 3 in months is this array of strings. So for example, if it's month 1, we'll take the first 3 of January, so on and so forth. And then on top of this, we're going to have a space. We're going to have a $. We're going to have date.day. Then we're going to have a comma, $date.year. All right, so this is going to stringify our date for us. That's good to go. And now we need to go ahead and use this inside of our register 3 form. So back in here, we'll go ahead and import that. So import, and we're going to import our stringify date like so. And now with our birth date, we're going to go ahead and say stringify date. We're going to pass in the state.dob. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially with that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.